noise.
Welcome back to the next part of this Truth and Rhythm episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. Also become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you so much for your interest and support. Enjoy.
What were one or two of the most unforgettable shows that you did with Prince that just stand out? It could be for any reason, it could be something funny, or it could be something that was, heartwarming or whatever.
Yeah, it's hard to name just two. I mean, I think somewhere, but I'm sorry, I can't recall the real, but my favorite moments of ever being on stage with him are always on the after show, have been on the after shows, the moments where we were flying, the whole band, especially in that one night alone when we were out in Europe. We were in Denmark with the bus, and I think those were our best musical moments all together for all of us collectively, with Larry Graham there and Maceo, and that would make me the happiest. I didn't care if it was in a big place or in a small bar. I just wanted him to look at me and go like, shit, she's playing a real good solo. What? Candy, wait a minute. All that's. And also when he let you double dip on the solos, then you knew you were doing good. Like you get a solo, and in the end jam, you go, Candy, come back. And then, of course, I had Maceo Parker next to me. Of course, most of the time, he got the second dip, in the second solo. But he let me double dip sometimes. And that's the only moment I need in my life. I don't need for him to name check me in a video. I didn't need for him to buy me diamonds or clothes or and have me on a huge stage and make me a huge star. I just, the moments that I made Prince happy musically, those are closest to my heart. And another most memorable, but that's not for a good reason, is the period where we were with John and the drummer. At first he lost his daughter, his baby daughter, who drowned while we were on tour, Musicology, I think, yeah. And that was just the worst. And then I remember all that happening, and we had to play New Orleans, Essence, which was a big deal for Prince. And he made John do the shows. And at that moment, right from the moment we knew his baby girl had died, and he flew back with Larry and Prince to the funeral, but then he came back into the tour. I come from a whole different background. I'm white. I'm from Europe. When people die, especially children, we mourn, and it's the end of the world. And it is the end of the world. But we are serious. We don't laugh. We certainly don't sing. We don't do gospel. We don't play. It's all downhill from there. So what Prince was doing, he was trying to keep the band together, keep John on his toes, because he thought, if I let John go and he goes home, he will never play the instrument again. He will never come back in the tour. But at that time, I found it so harsh. I was fighting. Well, I wasn't fighting with him, but I was really angry at him. I didn't understand what he was doing. He would suddenly come and dress up in the rehearsal. He took us all to Minneapolis for that week. And we were just rehearsing for the Essence Fest. And he would come in dressed crazy. I think you as a fan might remember that he had that Sonny and Cher wig on and the stained glasses. Normally that would have been fun. But for me, it was like, what are you doing? This girl died, this baby girl that we all knew, and you're trying to be a clown. I didn't have the cultural baggage to understand that. And now I understand it, later. I understand what he was trying to do. It makes me really emotional because I didn't get it, but he was like, if anybody goes down, we all go down, Has also a lot to do with being African American. sorry that I cry. It's a big moment in my life where I got to realize that, hey, your heritage is so freaking different that you can cry because you have the luxury to cry. But a lot of people don't even have that. They have to go on. And in the end, he was so right. And I learned so much about life from that moment. So very, very memorable.
Wow.
Sorry, I can never go through this and not cry because it just brings me back, There was so much pain and so much growing for me to do that. And I remember him even being tough on John, even after all that happened while we were on tour. And I would be so mad. And one time, it was also funny. We were at some kind of a big place where we were playing some kind of, big hall. And he was going on John and saying, your timing is not good or whatever. And I got so mad. I thought, how can you, in this period of his life, be so harsh on him? And I remember I got my saxophone and I'd had it and I just wanted to walk up to Prince, just whack him. And then Maceo was like playing with one hand, put his other hand on my shoulder. We don't do that. Because Maceo understood what he was trying to do. Maceo found it also very frustrating, but he understood it way more because, being all
especially because he lived it through similar things with James Brown too.
Of course, and he also lived the life. What did I know? I came from a whole different. I knew about discrimination. I knew about hurt and stuff, but not in the way that African Americans had to go through all these centuries. So in I think James Brown tried to do exactly the same thing, but sometimes it's too harsh, and that's how it felt. But I didn't get the gist of it, but or the spirit of it. So Maceo kept me from really getting into a fist fight with Prince. But I don't know what Prince would have done. He would not, he would have understood it in one way or another, and then he would have explained it to me really. But back then I could not. I thought when somebody dies, you stop the tour, you all go home and you start anew and a year later. But that's not the way. And in a way, this is what he taught me. And in a way, because when he died, I had to play a gig that night and I only got the message one hour before the show. And I had to play in a place where always a lot of Prince fans would come to visit me. And I had to be the one to tell those fans that he passed away. And that gig I did without crying.
Wow.
And that's what he taught me. You thought you were going to have a happy interview.
No, that is heavy. I didn't know that. I had no idea that you had to do that when he passed, that would have been incredible.
Yeah, but I was proud of myself. And that's what he was always doing. You're not there for yourself and your own pity. You are there for the audience. And when we lived that with John, I was too young to understand that. But when I lived it through with him, I was old enough to get it. And, you surpass yourself. And we played, I played with the band and I asked them, you guys, two young guys in the band, I said, what do we do? Chance was there. Chance was in my band, Chance Howard. And I looked at him and I said, what are we going to do? And he said, we play. And I said, yes. I said, we play. I said, do we do Purple Rain? Because I had never in my life done Purple Rain without Prince. I still don't like that. I mean, he's the only one who plays it, well, and I don't like it if other bands do it, whoever it is. And then we thought, now this is the only night we play this. So we played Purple Rain. Ulko played a beautiful solo. Chance sang it and he sang his butt off. And we have a recording. It was good. We did him proud. And any other day we wouldn't have. And he would be like, he hated it when other people played his songs and he would be, from heaven, he'd be like, what are you doing? But I think this one he would have okayed. He wouldn't have said, oh, that was great. He would have said, yeah, and that was enough for us. Sorry, I'm crying but I'm telling these things. This is not something I tell a lot because I know people are Prince fans and I know people have lived this, they can understand this. They might still think I'm nuts, but they can understand it.
When was the last time that you had spoken to Prince before?
Yeah, I which was weird. We were in the O2 and I can never really, I don't know what really happened, but we just did Musicology and we were getting ready to do all those shows in the O2. I still to this day don't know what really happened, but we did a jam session the night before. My saxophone was bad. Somebody repaired it for me and they did it all wrong and I had to play with it. So I wasn't really on the top of my game. And I was always trying to be on top of my game with him, never ever. And that was the only night in my whole life that I felt like, shit, I didn't play well, it got stuck, blah, blah, blah. So that wasn't a nice feeling. And then we got off stage or the next day or something, and we were in the dressing room and he was laughing about somebody that I know very well. I will never give the name. I'll take it to my grave. But he was laughing about him with some of the musicians and they were like, ha, ha, ha. And I didn't like that. I felt they were talking about somebody behind his back and also saying things that were totally true. And I felt, of course, that I had to say something. And so I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I didn't want to be a part of it. So I went away, and those are the only two things I know that happened. And then the next day, he just called me out of the blue, and I know he called Sheila as well and other musicians. And then he said, "Hey, sorry, but I think I invited too many people," which might have been true because everybody and his uncle he had flew over to there, like Morris and everybody, I think. So, and then he said something like, I think I invited too much people. It's going to be too much. I think I'm not going to use you this time. And I was livid because I had, first of all, for him, canceled a whole tour of myself. I had brought my mom with me. He had booked me an apartment. We had just moved in there. We thought we were being there for 3-4 months. So I brought my whole house with me. And by that time, you have to understand at the end of the Musicology tour, he was really, now I know, in a lot of pain. He was not the happy prince that we all knew, more difficult to work with. Still, we loved him to death. But I remember sometimes sitting there, or I was even one time crying out of frustration and talking to Sheila, who was just a guest star. And I said, I love him so much. We all want to make him happy. We are all here for him. Why can't he be happy? Why he's so... Well, and she says, I don't know, And so the last months were not so nice. So when we started that new tour, the first day he was very upbeat. So I was happy. And then it felt again like that. And now in hindsight, I think he was just in so much pain, physical pain, that he couldn't really, he couldn't be so easygoing anymore like he was to us. So yeah, all that came about, and I was really angry, and I thought, okay, then I'm going home right now. And I was very angry and took off. And actually, a few times he tried to call me for some trivial things. He never called me and said, hey, are you angry or something? Or, he never said, I'm sorry, I had to let you go. He was just like, after 2 years, he called me, oh, hey, I'm in Amsterdam. His secretary, he's in Amsterdam and he wants to know a good health food store. Do you know one? And I'd be like, what? So I never talked to him again. But in hindsight, when he was playing, for instance, in Holland, I was never there because I was always touring. He always said really sweet things about me to the audience and stuff. And the other people who he knew said, no, he loved you. He was talking about you so, so nicely. So I think in his mind, he never did something negative in that. He really felt, okay, sorry, next time she'll be back. But I thought I was the last one to get sent off, like he did with a lot of musicians in his career. So I think I took it all wrong, and I stayed very stubborn for a long time. And so in the end, I didn't speak to him for a few years, I think. And then, so it really hurt when he died, because I felt, because in the back of my mind, I thought, I'm going to see him one time again, or he's going to call out of the blue after 10 years and we'll jam again. I was pretty sure of that. And then I never got that chance, I never got the chance to really understand him. That came later. So yeah, that was bittersweet, but it was not, I was more hurt by the fact that I'm such a fan and he was not there anymore, just like you and everybody else, It's not a trauma. It's just like, how could he, of all people, die so young? We all needed him so much.
Absolutely. And I can't believe it's been 6 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you mentioned, I have something to show you here, because the Musicology tour, I'm sure you don't remember, but my wife and I met you backstage at the show.
Yeah, you looked up. I probably did. Oh, wow.
The Fillmore.
Yeah, the Fillmore. Oh my God.
And you signed. You're signed here.
Wow, cool. I can see now.
And Maceo.
Yeah.
And Greg.
That was a
Although
great night. Fillmore. That was so much fun.
Greg's here. Yeah. So that was one of the best gifts I ever got. My wife surprised me for my birthday that
Uh,
night. And, with the tickets to go up there from Los Angeles and to go to the show. And that was, kind of warm-up gigs for the Musicology tour.
wow. Yeah, I know. Oh God. Yeah, because I also know your name from, I sometimes see all the things happening around Prince, of course, but I thought when we started, you looked so familiar. So, okay.
Yeah. So I saw you numerous times, but that was
Yeah.
one where I got to, spend a little time. So that was
Yeah.
super memorable. And God, what an incredible tour that was.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So many things happened. In the Fillmore, another memorable one, just short for laughs, is the one where we played Madison Square Garden, and we were with Cynthia Robinson and Jerry from the Sly Stone band. We had that, and I remember they came to pick us up from our hotel, and it was, of course, Madison Square Garden for me, first time, and big deal. And there was some fans that came to pick us up, and so we get outside, we in the lobby, and we see 2 or 3 vans come up, and everybody just gets in. Everybody gets in, and the van door closed, and they drive off, and there's no vans anymore. And I'm like, what? They just left us, like me and Cynthia Rob, it's like legends standing next to me, the horn section, us 3. They just left us, and nobody, and we waited for a little bit. And it was like, nobody even called to say, they didn't even miss us, It's like, so I was all like, I'm not going to take this in a Dutch manner. And Jerry and Cynthia just said, I wonder if we can take the subway. So we took the subway with all our clothes, my mom and Jerry and Cynthia, and everybody in the subway was like this, not knowing that Sly Stone's original horn players were in the subway with them. And we drove all the way by subway, and we came in, and nobody had missed us. And everyone was like, oh, hello. I said, hey, hello. You just had Cynthia Robinson drive the subway to the Madison Square Garden. And Prince was just like, he was like, cool. Okay, let's start. So, no, that's a little
funny.
fun fact.
That's hilarious. Was there anything that pops to mind, Candy, that you saw Prince do, and all the times you saw him on stage, where it just kind of blew your mind, whether it was like a particular solo, or whether he was, like I saw him at times playing a keyboard and the guitar at the same time and things like that?
All the time. But the slickness always got me, even before I got to play with him. But the idiocy that you can play the best musical notes possible in the best timing ever, in the best tasteful way, and then do a pirouette and come back and hit the other key at the right moment, or do sing at the same time. That's already really difficult, play guitar and sing at the same time. And a lot of people say, yeah, but a lot of people do that. Yeah, but they play folk music and they play like this. So it's really easy to sing. But if you play and then sing over that, that's like, he's the Mozart or Beethoven, or they are the Prince of their times even. That's what I always say to people. It's like, it's not normal how genius he was. And the funny thing was I saw him do all these things. And then sometimes I would tap him on the shoulder and say, so how do you actually do that singing and playing? And then he would always he would never give me any, he was like, oh, I just do it. And then he would walk away. He would never give me any advice, never any insights, oh, well, if you do it like this, it's easy. Or maybe if he would never, he was always like, find it out by yourself, play your own damn song. That was his thing, what he would say.
What would you say? I think maybe you've touched on some of it, but is there 1 or 2 lessons, whether it's performing or music business, that you took forward from your association with Prince?
Yeah, he enforced it in me, like the thought that the seed was already planted by my own dad or by my own career, but that one that every gig can be your last. Every gig has to be 110%. Always strive for the best, and if you fail, there's tomorrow, and it better be good then. And I took that too hard, also almost detrimental to my health and sanity, because you cannot always perform 110%, but yeah, you got to at least try. And that, yeah, where I was so emotional about that if there's other people's pain involved, you are not the most important one. You have to help them soothe their pain. That's the number one rule of making music or making art. It's to, give solace or give people something to uplift them. And you are not important. Those people are in that moment, and your own feelings, you have to put them aside for a while, and in a good way. And that's what he taught me. And I'm glad he taught me, because that made me a better musician.
And it comes through your recordings too. I mean, consistent through your whole catalog is just, so much joy and, an upbeat vibe and positivity, it really comes through on your music.
Yeah, I'm myself. I'm not even a super positive person. In the end, I am, but I can have my days and I can see everything very bleak. And I'm very good at telling everybody all that's wrong in the world. But I know so good that that's not the way to go. I'm not going to smash my saxophone. I'm going to use it and uplift people as much as I can. And that's the difference between some types of music and, the African American spirit is like, when we start crying, we would never stop. So we are going to uplift. We almost don't have a choice but uplift. That's our duty. And that's what they do. And that's what I want to honor, and what I learned from that.
What would you say is an element that's signature of your style? When people hear Candy play a solo or accompany something, what is it that maybe might stand out as, oh yeah, I think that's Candy, Dulfer?
Well, what I'm good I'm good at reacting to what, for instance, the singer or the other player is playing. That's what I love. I love to be giving the answer to the question or to the remark that's been given. And I do that a lot in music. And that's why I think I was good enough to play with Van Morrison and Pink Floyd. I just come in and use my, non-fear of improvising. I listen to what they are trying to say, the feeling that they are trying to invoke. And I just immediately have a feeling with that and think, okay, this fits that. He's saying, I want to be free. And then I play, I don't even think, but I feel, okay, he wants to, or she wants to invoke something. And this is what my sax can do together with that. And that's what I'm good at. And that's what I do all the time. So it's funny, when I started playing with Maceo and really listened to what he was doing, is we are the total opposites. We sound alike because I'm a huge fan of Maceo, but he tells the story. So Maceo always starts on the first beat of a 4 bars of music. He starts right away. He tells you something. He says, hey, I'm Maceo, and this is what I'm saying. And then Candy comes in, and I like you too, Maceo, and I love this, and I am like this. Okay, and that's why we could play together also so good. When we played, we were never, like, oh, sorry, your turn, my turn. It always flowed like that. And that's my forte, maybe my only forte, but that's why I was really good at playing with other people. Like with Van Morrison, I never rehearsed one day in my life. And just because I felt him, I feel where his music is going to, because of the same background, I think.
Yeah, so complementary with Maceo and also with singers and whoever you're playing with. So you got to really listen and react.
Yeah, I like to be, I have a huge ego, but I do like to be next to somebody who has even a bigger ego in the positive sense, and go like, okay, here's the leader and here I am. This is what I can contribute here. And that's what I tried to do with Prince the whole time. I would watch him like a hawk, see what he wanted to do. And hopefully, I could be an instrument in that to help to get him, to get his vision across, to people.
Well, and you've had such a distinguished, solo career now of your own, and so many records and all that. What were your aspirations, as a solo artist? What are you, early on, what were you hoping to accomplish? And, how do you feel that you've achieved that?
Well, not many people will believe me, but when I started, even when I was 17, right before Lily was here and Prince, I really felt that I didn't want any of that at all. I wanted my own band. I just wanted to play in the Netherlands, because there were back then a lot of opportunities to play. So you could play like 100 gigs a year. I thought that was going to be my life. Maybe one time play in Germany, which is our neighboring country, and play in certain places. I thought maybe the Paradiso would be great. Well, when I was 17, I already did that 3 times. So I was always adjusting my vision for the future, but I was never ambitious in that way, because I thought I would never achieve that. I had given that not even a second thought. But when I started playing with Dave and then with Prince, they ignited a fire in me. And suddenly I became much more ambitious, but it was all, and it's still always about the music. I can have sell so many records. I can be have a Grammy nomination or a prize somewhere. But if tomorrow I play a bad solo, my life it's really sucks. And when I play a good solo, I might have no money or nothing, but I'd be like, hey, it's that's what gives me happiness always, and it hasn't changed. So I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a better player now. I can play better. I just learn, and that's what I wanted to achieve, and that's happening. I'm not done learning, but that's happening.
I got to say, just personally, a couple of your favorite albums for me are For the Love of You and Candy Store and Candy Store. The ones where I feel have that extra little something of funk tend to be the ones, I'm going to gravitate toward the most, just because I'm such a funk guy. Yeah.
Well, for me, it's always so difficult to translate funk into albums because also for a while it was totally out. So even the techniques and stuff were gone, where you could, if you want to do a good funk album, the sound has to be dry, has to be cool, has to be good acoustic stuff, and you just have to play it together, because then you're locked and you're tight. And for a while that was so out of fashion that I couldn't get anybody to do it like that. And live we were always doing funk stuff and it was always working, but my records were for a long time sort of the blueprint for what I really wanted to do, and I still feel the same way, but now I know much more about technique and recording and producing, that I think, okay, now I can get it across a little bit better than I used to. But Candy Store is one of my favorite albums also, and that's also because at that time I had Chance Howard and Kirk Johnson at my house a lot in the Netherlands. I would fly them in and they would stay for weeks or months, and they lived at my house almost, especially Chance. And that was just such a beautiful period. And we would just, create music in my barn that I had back then. And yeah, we would rehearse in my living room with everybody, those were best of times. And I feel that album is very effortless. It feels very, and funky, like you say. So we tried to do that with the new album as well. I'm capturing the spirit a little bit like that.
Yeah, the new one is like really good. I really enjoyed listening to it. And I mentioned Nile Rodgers being on there, but also you have Marcus Miller on there on the track.
Yeah.
And Nile's on 2 tracks.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that record.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's out. It's not going to be out until 28th of October. So I'm really... Finally, it took us 3 or 4 years because of that stupid COVID, but now we're there, and that's a good feeling.
I bet. And it's long. It's like 75 minutes. It's almost like a double record,
Well, the vinyl is going to be double, and it's beautiful. I've already seen the artwork. It's going to be just great. But the record company said to me, like, why don't you choose your very, very best stuff? Because it's better to have less songs, more quality, than to have all these songs. And I said, I've been locked up inside, I've been through so much, not personally, but with the world, all the things that have happened. It's too late to think about that. I want to just bring everything out. I want to give people their money's worth. And if they don't like it, they can stop at the song 6. And at least they have, I have to give this to people. This is from my heart. I cannot say, okay, I've worked on this for many months, and now it's not the greatest song, I'll put it away. It's not, I can't do it like that. I needed to. This was my opus magnus.
Yeah, the whole message is like, hey, let's get this party restarted,
Yeah, totally. I mean, we've been given a second chance. I don't know what the world is doing in the meantime, but that's how I feel. And I'm like, let's go. Let's try to make the momentum we have now, where we could have just be happy to be out of our houses again. Let's not spoil that by all the crazy stuff that's going on. Let's make it better. But not many people, many people see it like that, but not many politicians are acting like it.
I feel like, the highlights are too numerous to mention, but some of my favorites I'll just share with you are Raindrops.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I think you're playing soprano sax on that? Yeah.
Raindrops started as we wanted to do that live with there's an African feeling that I wanted to, the stuff that I grew up with. I grew up with a lot of African music that my father would, take us to, and It always was so ingrained in my brain and in my heart. And I just wanted to capture a little bit of that, try to. But then in the end, we had to do it all with computers and the live drums. We able to manage that. But then COVID came and we couldn't sit with like 16 African drummers. So we tried to capture the spirit a little bit of it. And that's why it's one of my favorite songs as well. Yeah.
Also, the title cut, real funky. And I feel like definite Prince vibes coming through, at least in the beginning, early parts of it.
Yeah, well, the whole thing about like we're never gonna stop. That's Prince, like no way we're gonna stop until we're not there anymore. And that's what he did. I mean, he just went on, and because we are here, we've given this tool of music and we should use it, So for me, sometimes it was my own mantra, because sometimes I was like, how are we ever going to play again? I had to say it to myself, but I also had to keep everybody, try to keep up the spirits everywhere, because sometimes the musicians would be super down, from not having any money, no future. Sometimes I talked to promoters and they were like, yeah, what's the use? We have to reschedule all the time. I think we're going to just stop, and come back when we can come back. And I was like, no, we got to keep this going. We can't afford to lay out for 2 years and not work on the future. That's crazy. And I had to keep this as a mantra, but sometimes for myself as well.
Yeah. Well, and the outreach you did, online and through those channels, I mean, definitely was uplifting for a lot of people.
Yeah, I hope so. It was a bit disappointing for me to the technical side of things. Like, when we started doing stuff like, oh, okay, we got this. We can all make new songs, and then Sheila will play some percussion. I'll have her play, and we would do a live show for people, and we'll keep everybody happy. And then this whole latency thing, it's still not solved. We can go to the moon. We've been going to the moon for 4 decades now, but we still can't, play with a band all over the world and get it tight. And then people would say, oh, it's pretty tight. It says, hey, we are from, this is the Minneapolis sound. Pretty tight doesn't cut it, So a lot of people gave up again. So I tried what I could, but I was very frustrated at all the Instagram companies and the Facebook and stuff, that they didn't give us better tools. It's like, yeah.
I could see that.
Better.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. I also really like No Time for This.
Thank you. That's a funny track, because when we recorded it, we thought this was the one that's going to not be on the album, maybe, this is the lead thing. And we did it. It's a weird song. It's not hip. It's also not old fashioned. It's our own style. But when we started playing it before the album is out, we've been playing it already for a year, and it's the biggest hit on the show. And I don't know, the frustration that's in the song really caught a nerve with a lot of people. Understandable, but the power, I thought they'd be scared of me, like doing something like that. And especially live, it's like we go like this, and they love it. They eat it up. So it's so funny. It's so unpredictable what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. And the singles, yeah, right? And
that's now the second single. But I think in the States it's going to be Convergency, because they are still, I'm trying to get out of that a little bit, although I love smooth jazz, but I've always felt that I don't want to dupe people. I am a little bit smooth jazz because I play ballads, but most of my stuff is up tempo. And I was fortunate enough to still be welcomed in that community. But I would also love to reach younger people and the funk audience. So I think with Nile, it's so beautiful that we do Convergency, because that's really a special song. So I hope that gets us on the radio again, and then they can, listen to the whole album. And the other song I did with Nile, which is totally chic with saxophone. That's what I asked him for, and he did that.
He like bookends the record, right? He's on the first and the last tracks.
Yeah, because I felt I want to start the album with a bang, and then I want to end it with something really close to my heart and intimate, and that's what this song is. And Nile, it's so funny because the record company said to me, okay, do you want to work with Nile Rodgers? And I said, yeah, everybody wants to work with Nile Rodgers, but I like to work with people when it really is not a organized thing by the record company. I want it to be organic. I want them to know me and say, hey, I want to work with Candy, and not something that's forced upon both of us. So I said, well, does he know me? And they said, "Are you kidding? He's sitting next to me and he loves you and he's so glad that we signed you and he wants to do work with you." I said, "Okay." And then we were totally in the middle of COVID. And so the first time Nile Rodgers is going to call me, and my boyfriend, everybody, like the kids are saying, "Nile Rodgers is calling." And my boyfriend said, "Here's the phone. It's Nile Rodgers." And I'm like, "Hey, Nile." And right away, and that's how he is. I heard this from more people. He gives his whole life story. He's totally open. You can tell him anything, you know. So long conversation, but he calls so many times, you know, he makes time for everybody. It's just incredible. So after the third call, it was the kiss guy, like, "Yeah, it's now Rogers again," because they knew I would be on the phone with him for 20 minutes. And one of the first things he said, "Did I just read your birthday is 19 September? I said, "Yeah." "It's mine too. That's crazy. Convergency. We are meant to be making a song together." He's so positive. So that moment, he had the title of the track and the thing that we played together. So at the very end of the song, we do this outro and we really play. I had to go into his licks and we played the exact same licks, and it's so beautiful, the guitar and the sax. And it's beautiful that even without that distance of COVID forced upon, and also the distance in our lives, what we experience, how we look, what we are, where we're from. And then it's, with music, you can be together like this in an instant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Music is what binds us all, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it does. It really, truly does.
And brings us through whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And how did you come in contact with Marcus Miller?
I've known Marcus Miller from so many years ago because I was a big fan of Dave Stewart, and he would play always the North Sea Jazz Festival, and I would always be there because my father organized stuff there, and also I would play there myself. So soon they knew about me. And Marcus always, like, even when I was 16 years old, he was so sweet to me always, and he would give me little insights on everybody. He would say, like, "You see David Stewart, man, he drives me crazy. He just goes through 600 saxophone reads a night and he's still not happy." And he just knew that I needed that because I had so little self-confidence as a player, and I was always struggling with my reads and my sound. And he would just let me in on little secrets, that Dave probably wouldn't want anybody to know, but I got into it. And that sense of humor, and he would always, have me backstage. I grew up with those two guys. They weren't that much older than me, but still, and they were my heroes, and I've seen him so many times. And then later on, we started doing the smooth jazz cruises together, and that's when we grew closer, him and his wife as well, Brendan. You're on that same boat together, and you do the same stuff. And he even gave me a music lesson one time because I don't know anything. I'm just so basic. I just do everything by ear. But sometimes there's music that you can't do by ear. You really have to know your basics. And nobody would really tell me. They were like, "Yeah, it's a very difficult song," and they would just walk away. And I was like, and then he said, "Come on." And he took me in the dressing room, and he took a guitar, which he plays also very good. And he said, "See, all those chords, they're just the same." And for 75%, I said, "Oh yeah." And we still didn't get what he was saying. But for 25%, it was the only time really somebody really taught me something. I was like, wow, So I'm very fond of him. And he played in Amsterdam just a few days ago. I jumped on stage with him. We did a song together. He's just very approachable, but he also has a little bit of Prince in him, that music is always number one. So it's not like, "Hey, how are you doing?" It's just, "Come on, play." And then you'll be like, "Yeah, but my saxophone is broken." "Too bad. Get on, or don't do it." He said to me, it reminded me so much of Prince. He said, "Hey, come and join us, play. We'll do the last song. It's you. If you know the lines, the melody, play it. If you don't know it, don't play it." That's how he talks. But that's exactly what Prince would say. Like, if you know it, great. If you don't know it, get off. And it's so funny for they're a little bit similar. So I'm very proud to have him on the album and to, have him as a friend. He's amazing.
And he's another guy who just works, where it comes to the music.
Nile, Marcus, and Prince, very productive, very crazy productive.
And that track has, sounds like a little bit of voice box on it.
You mean which one? Oh, Convergency.
The one with Marcus Miller has like a little.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's actually me playing electronic saxophone and then going through that my fingers make the notes and I do the sound with the mic. And I love doing that. And this is actually, I do a lot of songs like that, or I used to do them before the pandemic on tour. But this song just, I use that as the only instrument, the walls. Yeah.
And we talked about your influences earlier, but I got to ask you also about Average White Band, because you've done Pick Up the Pieces so much. And you also did I'm the One.
Yeah. They were such a band that I could relate to, because the only funk band that's not come out of America, especially back then, some Scottish guys that could play like that and could really honor the music and would be accepted by African-American, audiences. That's just amazing. That gave me hope, because I truly, not to digress, but I truly, from when I was really young, even when I was 11 or 12, I always thought in the back of my mind, hey, I'm playing all this funk music, but I'm from Amsterdam. I haven't lived that life. I don't know if they will let me, if they will embrace me. Maybe they don't like it if I play their music. That's always been there. And then some stuff like him or David Sanborn, being accepted by so many great African-American players made me think, okay, so if you do it respectfully and you try to be your best, then you might. So Average White Man was really special to me. And I just did that song because there are so few songs where you have a distinct saxophone line that drives the song. In America, people have more smooth jazz hits now, but back then there were only a handful of songs. So I was always looking for that song. So when Pick Up the Pieces, I thought when I started, it's such an old song, but maybe I can do a different version. I should have left it alone, but I made a different version. We were so young, we had no, and we did it. And then, but I always thought, oh my God, if I ever going to meet the Average White Band, what will they say? I changed the chords in the bridge and blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, I met them and they were like, hey, we love it. It's really cool what you did. They're so sweet. So, yeah, I really have a lot to thank them for, because the use of sax alto in the sound there has been really helpful for me. That's when I thought, okay, so I can be, they and Maceo really gave me the idea that I could do that on the saxophone.
So, Candy, are you going to be touring extensively now with the new record coming out? And
I've been very fortunate that actually when we were so lucky, whenever territory was opening up, even in Europe, like first in the east of Europe and then somewhere else, every country that was open, I had a gig. So I could, I've done some pretty much touring already the last half year. But now, we're really going. I'm going to Japan in 2 weeks. I'm going to Europe. I'm coming over for the States next year to do the Smooth Jazz Cruise. I'm going to do a huge summer tour with somebody. I can't name the name yet, but we're doing a package tour. It's really cool. I'm pretty booked if all goes well, knock on wood, till 2024. And it makes me really happy.
And how can people best keep up with your tour schedule?
I put mostly on my website. There's always the touring on there, but people sometimes don't understand. They say, hey, there's only these few gigs, but we can only publish dates that are totally confirmed. So, when the venue also confirms them, then we can put them on the website. So we're never far ahead, but be sure to know that I'm coming to Japan, to the States, luckily, and to Europe, all over Europe, and hopefully even South America as well.
Well, I hope you come to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, I love North Carolina. I would love to. Yeah, I think for nowadays, it's kind of hard for us from Europe with the whole visa thing. It's super expensive to come over with a band or even alone for a few weeks of touring. It eats up any profit that you might have. So it's been a little bit more difficult the last 5-6 years to get over to the States. And then COVID came, but we definitely try. We want to come.
Is there anyone left on do you have a bucket list of somebody you'd like to collaborate with?
I have so many, but I never say that out loud because I always think it jinxes it. Because I never said Prince out loud and I got to play with Prince. I never said Van Morrison or Pink Floyd or Dave Stewart and it happened. And so, no. And I said Tina Turner out loud. It never happened. So maybe I shouldn't say. But there are many artists that I would love to play with and for. And
Wow.
Many.
It's been such a joy talking to you, Candy. Thank you so much for spending time and sharing those stories. And thanks for all the great music you've shared with us for so many years.
Thank you. Yeah, and sorry I was so elaborate because I just feel that we're amongst friends and purple friends. So I thought give a little bit more insight. I was trying to be honest. In the first few years after Prince, I didn't want to talk about him at all because there was so much stupid stories going around him. I didn't want to add to the confusion and the negative vibe. And now I feel people finally see him for what he was, and now you can say even things that are a bit more human, and it won't take away from his legacy. It will either, make people understand him, and in the end, he, I think he was one of the greatest I've ever worked with, greatest person. So I hope people understand it respectfully, but that's why I'm more open about it. I trust you guys.
Yeah, well, and I'm all about the music. I don't really care about the gossip and the rumors and all that,
We shouldn't be. And it's sometimes very interesting to know something about people's personal life because it makes the picture bigger. I love to learn about it, but we shouldn't run with it and make it into negative stuff. So no. So thanks for listening to me. You probably have to edit here and there.
That's no problem. But I want to make sure everyone checks out the new record. It should be just freshly out by the time this airs. So
cool. Yeah.
Never Gonna Stop. And hopefully you're never going to stop.
No, me neither. Knock on wood.
And I do hope you make it out to the US and I can see you again in person one of these days.
Yeah, I'm doing a tour, but it's not published with Dave Koss, and that's going to be a lot of fun with 3 horns, and we're going to go all through the US. So definitely be in your neighborhood, and then I can do my own songs as well. So that's going to be fun, and hopefully later with the band as well. So hopefully we come to North Carolina.
Awesome. All right.
Okay. Thanks for having me, and have a great, what is it for you day? Yeah, it's early at your place.
Yeah. All right, Candy. Take care.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also, much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.